Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My Karen wife is demanding my daughter share her college fund with her stepsister. After that, am I the jerk for taking my wife's side after she screamed at my crazy mother? And after that, am I the jerk for taking in my niece despite my husband's complaints even though we are child-free? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to take anyone's college fund. You ain't got no college fund, Reddit boy. You can't even afford to buy a different outfit. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My Karen wife is demanding my daughter share her college fund with her stepsister. I'm married to Ashley. Our girls from previous relationships are both 17. My ex-wife was Sam. She and I were never a great couple, but we were great friends and great parents and co-parents, so we stayed very close after the divorce. I was aware she had started saving for our daughter's future education. We had reached somewhat of a compromise on how to handle that. I did most of the spending on her adolescent activities and extras, so all her extracurricular activities, hobbies, and for the most part, gifts that we shared, while she saved for the future in an effective way. I never knew how much was in the account until 2 years ago when my ex passed. It was then I learned she had saved a hefty amount and that aside from allowing for her funeral expenses, she had left money for our daughter to use as she saw fit outside of the college money. Ashley and I married 7 years ago, and at the time we had discussed money for the girls, etc. I explained that I was not saving, but my ex-wife was. She had not started anything for her daughter at that point, and her ex was not saving either. So we started to put a little by when we could. But we were never able to save huge chunks at a time. After Sam passed, money became a much larger issue. Ashley was upset to learn my daughter had a considerable amount more than my stepdaughter for college and that she had money to spare. It only became a bigger deal this past May. My daughter told me she had decided to do community college in her mom's hometown so she could be close to her grandparents for a while and could still follow her dreams. Ashley then brought up how some of that money could go to my stepdaughter. I told her no, that it was not our money. And even if she tried to suggest that it would be mine, seeing as my daughter is a minor, I pointed out that it would be stealing to just take it away from her, and I had never contributed to that fund directly, and it would be taking my ex-wife's money. Ashley went off about Sam putting so much away when she knew our daughter had a stepsister and how she was selfish to make her so much better off than her only sibling. I told her she needed to get over that because Sam only had one kid to think about, and it wasn't her job to think about my stepdaughter or even any biological kids I could have had after our divorce. Ashley told me to think about my stepdaughter. I told her my stepdaughter is not entitled to my daughter's money or my ex-wife's money, whichever way she wanted to look at it. She asked how I could be so callous about her daughter's disadvantage. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Your ex-wife saved it for your daughter, not the stepdaughter, so she's not entitled to any of it at all. Not the jerk, but your wife sure is. For me, this childish behavior would be a reason to break up. Not the jerk. Sam saved for her daughter, her only daughter, not for a stranger's kid who she had no responsibility for. Don't punish your daughter by taking away her college fund that her mother set up for her just because your wife doesn't know how to make good financial decisions for her kid. OP. I would never take away from my daughter. I would also never expect Sam to have saved or given money for my stepdaughter. Mostly, I was just questioning my own handling of saying no and staying firm, whether I lack more care or compassion in this matter. Not the jerk, but definitely explain to your daughter that it's her money left by her mother. It seems like she has a good idea of what she wants to do with it. Maybe talk to her about financial responsibility and all of that as well. I feel like your current wife might be the type to try and guilt your daughter into giving up some of the money or sharing. OP. I don't believe my wife would go for that. I do believe this might not be over with her and me, but it will change our marriage incredibly if she continues to push for this. My daughter wouldn't share with her stepsister. Neither would my stepdaughter. The girls are not close and don't have a sisterly relationship. It's fine, but they are not each other's biggest fans. I also have the kind of relationship with my daughter where she would tell me if someone was trying to pressure her. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. We've heard similar stories a few times and I can just never understand the audacity of these Karens. Am I the jerk for taking my wife's side after she screamed at my crazy mother? I, 33 male, am married to my wonderful wife Melody, who's 29, and she's currently pregnant with our first kid together. I have a 6-year-old daughter, Tina, whose mother and I split 50-50 custody, so I know for the most part what Melody needs in order to feel supported while she carries our kid. I've been spending lots of time making sure she's comfortable and taking on more of the load at home so she's not doing too much. This is her first kid after all, and it's obviously a lot for her physically and emotionally. My mother and Melody don't get along too well. Mom didn't like my ex either. We broke up because we were headed on different paths, not because of my mother, and there's no bad blood. So I think she just doesn't like her because she's dating me for whatever reason. It's weird. She's very nitpicky about Melody, how much she does around the house, how emotional she is. Melody already cries very easily, and being pregnant has made her even more sensitive, which is fine. The fact that she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, it just seems like nothing Melody does is okay. I do, however, stand up for her and do not just allow my mom to talk down to her. Today, before picking up my daughter from summer camp, Melody went to 3 different grocery stores to find rotisserie chicken. She's been talking about it since last night and really wanted one. She sent me picture messages documenting her quest for the chicken and finally found it. My girl was happy. Rotisserie chicken is also kind of a comfort food for her, like spaghetti, because her mom used to make one of those when she was having a lazy day and didn't feel like cooking. She was planning on serving that with some other basic sides for dinner. Perfectly fine with me. My mother came by to see Tina and started telling Melody the chicken is bad for her and she should not be eating that while pregnant. Melody said it's fine. She usually eats healthy and just wants this one thing she's craving. My mom went on about how unhealthy it was and said she needs to eat something else. Melody said no and went to the backyard to FaceTime her family, out of state. When she came back, my mom had thrown out the food and ordered takeout, a salad for Melody and pizza for everyone else. Melody asked where the chicken was, and my mother told her she needs to start being a responsible mother and eat correctly for the baby. Melody screamed, "What's wrong with you? Why are you always such a jerk to me?" She then started crying and called me home. I came back and asked my mother to leave after hearing her story and said she's not to come back until she apologizes for how she treated Melody. My mom went on about how I'm choosing another woman over her, but I just think enough is enough, and Melody reached her limit. She apologized to me for blowing up when Tina was in the house, but I told her it's okay, things happen. Tina is okay, and I went to find her another chicken before the store closed. My dad thinks I'm right for taking Melody's side, but my brother thinks I should always defend mom, so am I the jerk? Edit. Okay, not to be that guy, but I did not expect this to get so much attention. I woke up to so many notifications, and I'm going to try to go through as many as I can, but thank you for all of the support. Melody loves all the kind messages from all of you, especially the mamas and soon-to-be mamas who get it, as she put it. 1. My mom claimed it was the seasoning and fat and grease that made the chicken bad for her. It's all BS, but that's what she claimed. I'll talk to my dad first, then have a family meeting. 2. I do plan on having a sit-down with both my parents and my brother. I'll talk to my dad first, then have a family meeting. A lot of you asked why I would still want my mom around, and honestly, maybe I'm just weak, but that's my mother. However, if she cannot learn to change and respect my family, then we will just have to go no contact. It's hard, but it is what it is. Melody doesn't even want to completely cut her out, she just wants change as well. But I will protect Melody at all costs, and if that means cutting off my mom, then so be it. 3. My ex and I did not break up because of my mother. We had different ideas of where our lives were going. Tina was not planned, and we were already heading towards our separate ways before she was pregnant. We tried to make it work for Tina, but that's not what relationships are about. So we split, and it's working great. My ex and Melody get along great. Tina is happy, and we work through things as one big blended family. My ex and Melody have talked about my mother with each other before, and that was when I realized I needed to see a therapist to work through my childhood with a mom like mine. It's a process. I'm working through it as best I can. 4. Some people asked about our culture. We are all Black American, so I think it's more of a mom-son thing than a cultural thing. Not the jerk. Glad you went on a hunt for chicken to replace the one that your mother threw away. Great husbanding on your end, OP. What is wrong with your mom, though? OP. I couldn't let her 3-store quest be for nothing. She really wanted that chicken. I have no clue what's up with my mom. I want her to be able to be in my kids' lives, but we need some serious boundary work. I don't know what to do, dude. Not the jerk, but your mom sure is. As a former pregnant woman, if my mother-in-law would have thrown away food I was craving and ordered me a salad instead, I would have thrown her on a rotisserie and spun her around until she apologized. Am I the jerk for taking in my niece despite my husband's complaints even though we are child-free? I'm 25 female and husband is 27 male. Niece is 3 years old. My sister asked me if we would take her daughter since she had to go out of town for a surgical procedure and wouldn't be able to care for her daughter while she recovers. I ran this by my husband, who immediately said no and shook his head. I said it was my niece, and that just because we weren't really fans of having kids ourselves doesn't mean we can't do a favor for family. It ended in an argument, but I ended up taking her anyways. He refuses to do anything with her. This isn't the first time they've met. He's just never really interacted with her, which I don't expect him to. But when I brought up that he could have had a better attitude about this, he just said that I shouldn't have brought a kid into our home. He also went on a rant that because of this, I'm probably going to change my mind about having kids, and he won't put up with that. Said like that, he will divorce me even if I suggest it. My niece hasn't even been much of a problem. In fact, she's usually pretty quiet unless she's hungry or tired. Yes, she gets into stuff and makes messes, but I assume that's pretty standard toddler behavior. I don't understand why he's so angry, since it's not like he's having to do anything. Edit. I should add that she'll only be here for about a week and a half, maybe longer if my sister has complications, but we don't know yet. Also, I told him he should have a better attitude towards her because I read that kids can tell when you don't like them, and being away from her mom is already hard enough for her. Am I the jerk? People are saying you're the jerk because he said no and that should be a mutual decision, and I would normally agree, but I'd be pretty upset for my partner telling me that I can't help out my sister in a tough situation like that. It's not like it's permanent, for no real reason apart from him not liking kids. This isn't a social visit, it's a family emergency. And then the comments about divorcing at the mention of wanting kids? That's a big leap. Shows where his head is at. Spoiler, not focused on sister's surgery and well-being of niece, and just a pretty jerk thing to say in general. This is at least an everyone sucks here, but personally I'd say not the jerk. Exactly. I'm child-free myself, but when my best friend donated a kidney to his wife, I was ready to be with their kid for 2 months if need be while they recover. Thankfully, I didn't need to watch the kid for 2 months because his father flew in from out of the US to be with them. But I was ready to do so if needed, no matter how I feel about having kids. That's what you do for family, chosen or not. It's his family too, and he should have never said no. He should care enough to sacrifice his freedom for a couple of weeks. The sister wouldn't have asked if she had better options, I assume. Not the jerk. Reddit just loves these adamantly child-free types and act like the existence of any kid in the immediate vicinity is some sort of personal affront to their autonomy and personhood. OP, for goodness sake, it's 10 days at the most. He can get over himself. God forbid this isn't just the first warning sign of a long life with a guy growing gradually more mean about kids over time. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. I'm surprised some people are voting you're the jerk here. OP did a favor for her sister who's having a complicated surgery. I'm sure the sister tried finding other means of childcare. This is what family does for one another. Doesn't mean she is entitled to do it, but OP has the empathy to do so, which OP's husband is seriously lacking. Some people think that if someone declares themselves child-free, they must not be asked to be in the presence of any kids ever again. And because they are child-free, they should never be asked to even watch a kid for 5 minutes or else they'll be cursed with being a parent or something. It's weird. OP is not the jerk. At first, the headline made me assume like she's taking the niece in permanently. But a week? That's just doing your sister and niece a huge favor and something people with good relationships do. It isn't like she dropped her off on your doorsteps. I'd rather take care of a 3-year-old than a newborn or a baby. You're the jerk. Sure, this is how it starts out. Let's watch my niece this weekend. My nephew wants to go to the zoo. Let's take him. Before you know it, it's, hey, the kids are staying with us for a month while their parents go on vacation. Then it's, my niece is having problems with her parents. She's going to stay in the guest room until she goes off to college this fall. I know my examples may sound extreme, but trust me, you have to put your foot down early with this type of stuff, or your house will become the free daycare for the whole extended family. You and your husband chose to be child-free. That doesn't make you the designated babysitters. I went through this same thing with my wife before I left her. There was no way I'd be spending my time and money raising someone else's kids when I specifically chose not to have any because I dislike them. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her husband? Please let us know. I don't get how so many people dislike kids. How could you dislike something that's loud, rude, dirty, disrespectful, and smells like cheese? Am I the jerk for reporting my colleague to HR? Background. I, 26, female, just started my first job after finishing my master's and work in a department with another colleague, 27, female, Thea, who joined the company 2 months before me. She's currently in graduate school, and I'm amazed at how she is very efficient and fast in her tasks. I noticed that Thea is always assigned complicated tasks despite being new to the company, and I wanted to join the project she's in so I can learn from her. Initially, Thea was fine with it, and I learned that she is someone who will implement very strict timelines in order to get things done. I had trouble keeping up because I wasn't used to having such deadlines, but she would just tell me to be faster next time and move on. Recently, she put up a huge whiteboard at her desk which detailed all her meetings and tasks for the month. I was very impressed with this setup and asked her what the tasks on her board meant. She became very irritated when I asked if there was room for one more teammate, and she finally snapped and said, "Not everything with my name needs you involved." I was surprised at her hostility, but just thought she was having a bad day. But ever since then, she's been very distant and just generally difficult to work with. She wouldn't be as helpful as before when it came to retrieving documents that I need, implemented tougher deadlines, and would just avoid me by going home earlier. I felt that she was creating an overly hostile work environment that was affecting my productivity and felt like the right thing to do was to report her to HR. I did so after collecting some evidence, and HR said that they would talk to her. Well, the talk didn't seem to go well because now our boss has told me to just stay out of her way and removed me from all projects that involve her. Thea has even been moved to another section in the office closer to our seniors, who I've heard have been trying to placate her to stop her from leaving. I'm conflicted as I don't want to ruin my workplace relationships, but it was very difficult to work with her, and I did what I thought was the right thing to do to advocate for myself. Am I the jerk? Edit. Okay, so I posted this on my way to work, and I didn't know my story would be so riveting to all of you. I see that there is an overwhelming vote of "you're the jerk," which I didn't expect, and I can't reply to every comment, but I'll address some below. 1. Why did I mention her still in graduate school? Because she's doing her Ed.D. I'm so impressed at her ability to manage post-grad and her job. I couldn't manage it in my master's, so I just wanted to know how she did hers. 2. No, she's not my senior. We both have the same title but different levels, as per the norm in our country. This is also her first job, as before she was doing some other stuff. 3. The evidence I presented to HR included how she gave me earlier deadlines than the rest of the team, which she claimed was because I was slow. So even if I was late on my deadline, I was still on time with everyone else. How she would keep telling me to go find the documents I'm looking for in the folders that she had already prepared, even though she doesn't tell me exactly where I can find it, and how she would send me a lot of condescending texts about not being late with the submission of work. Why didn't I follow the hierarchy in reporting? Our seniors didn't find any issue with her methods, which she was open about, and our manager was more concerned about meeting deadlines and not angering our main business partner, which she is the main person handling it. 5. I'm not trying to ride on her coattails. I was asking about the tasks she had listed because they sounded interesting, and I was curious to know why I hadn't been included. Oh no, I'm afraid the way you handled this was way outside workplace norms, which isn't unexpected. You're still new at the workplace. 1. She wasn't being difficult to work with. She was just declining to keep coaching you. Gathering evidence and accusing her of creating a hostile work environment was a wild misread of the situation. 2. You were leaning on your coworker more than workplace norms call for. She isn't there to mentor you. If you want to improve your performance, read blogs, take classes, and watch and observe to see if you can learn from others. But don't ask them for coaching on how to adapt their methods. It would be okay once in a while, like once a year, but it sounds like you were leaning in hard. 3. When you've been struggling to meet deadlines and keep up with a team is not the time to ask to be put on more projects with them. Work on your time management skills and get your performances up. When you're starting to get positive feedback, that's your cue that you can ask to get on more projects. 4. When you have a challenge with a coworker, first start with a conversation with them to see if you can resolve it. Next, have a conversation with your boss to get their take. Then, and only then, go to HR. They're really to be used only in case of emergency. They aren't like a dorm RA. They're not there to problem-solve conflict between employees. You're the jerk, but you'll get there. OP strikes me as the kind of grad school grad that never has had a real job until after their master's. To be 26 and this is their first real-world job is probably why she has the professionalism of someone in their teens or early 20s. As much as grad school is hard work, the professional norms in academic do not translate well to a high-paced professional environment like the one OP is describing. I do mentorship for new grads, and I'm always happy to teach and lunch and learn, but OP's entitlement to my time would have driven me to be far ruder to her than this coworker. All that said, where was OP's own manager in all of this? You don't let your newbie obnoxiously irritate your golden goose. OP could have been set on the right course by her own manager after the first hostile encounter with this rock star coworker. You're the jerk. Not only did you obviously hold her back, you were getting on my nerves just while reading this. I cannot imagine how she must have felt. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her coworker? Please let us know. Bruh. Guy just stares at me like it's somehow going to get him what he wants. So this guy makes a reservation. He books a cheap room, not the cheapest, but still quite the difference. All is good until a couple of days later when he arrives. Hi, I have a reservation under blah blah, and if you could give me X room, most expensive room. I inform him that he booked Y room. He starts how he's our loyal customer, blah blah, regular stuff. I've never seen him before. He then starts complaining about everything and acting really strange, like extremely odd. He would just stop talking and look at me. I thought he was going to say more, but nope, he just stared at me. I then just repeated, "Sir, you booked the Y room, but for the difference of this much money, you can get that room." He just stares at me. Now I'm used to getting stupid stares from people, but this guy was not drunk or anything. He just stared at me. I stare back at him. There's silence. I try to be nice and just calmly repeat it again. He then finally says that it's too much and he wants to keep the original room. Go forward 2 months. I see the reservation for the same name, and now he books the cheapest possible room we have, but it's the beginning of summer, so the prices are double than what they were. He shows up at 9 a.m., and before I can even say hello, "Hi, well, today I booked your best room." I'm thinking to myself, what? You booked the cheapest room we have, much worse than what you did the first time. Anyways, I first inform him there are no rooms available yet as we were full the day before, and the current guests are still eating breakfast, that he needs to come back later. He just smirks and gives me his stupid stare again. I ask him to come back later and the room will be ready for him at this hour. I also inform him that he has not actually booked our best room, but the cheapest room. He just stares at me like I'm stupid again. I inform him again of what he booked and that unfortunately we have no other rooms available today, aka we're full. He keeps staring at me and smirks again. This time I just decide enough. I stare back at him. I just didn't care. He was obviously a bad guest in my book, and I really don't care anymore for his weird staring trick. He just kept staring at me. I wait for him to say something. It's his turn. He doesn't flip out or start yelling. He just says how unprofessional I am, and what do I have against him? I let him know I have nothing against him, although I do, because his staring is just weird and obvious that he's trying to put me in a strange position. He continues with, "Well, what are we going to do now? I booked your best room." I tell him the facts again. He just stares and stares and stares, and then he flips out. "What do you have against me? You really don't want me as your guest, right?" I, totally calm, disagree with him and tell him he just made a mistake and I would be happy to cancel his reservation for free. Please just leave, I think to myself, and stop with the staring. He stares. Think to myself, forget it. I'm just gonna go do something else. He starts yelling at me how unprofessional we are and that we're going to get what we deserve and he's going to write it. At this point, I'm just like, "Sir, you can get a free cancellation." He insists that it's not possible and shows me how he's paid already for the best room. I try to show him what he booked. He keeps moving the phone away, just showing me that he has paid. I finally get to show him. And now here you are, request free cancellation. And he quickly moves his phone away like I was trying to click it. This goes back and forth for a while when he finally gives up and cancels his reservation. He leaves, telling me how we're going to get what we deserve. Thank you, and please don't come back. Completely destroyed my morning and the rest of the day. Not to mention I'm alone today and have somewhere around 80 checkouts and I'm totally unprepared and already exhausted. I googled him later and see that he's a public speaker, has some strange wannabe TED Talks, and his weird videos and portfolio. I'm thinking to myself now, dude, your strategies might work on some people, but staring like that is just weird and puts people in uncomfortable situations where they just start talking, I guess. Which I guess was your intention with me. But I have a job here, and I'm used to BS, and just staring at me won't change anything. Did you expect me to pay for your room out of my pocket or something? Get out of here and stop being a creep. Edit. Coworker informs me later that he actually did stay with us before, that she remembers him. Must have been a long time though since he's not in the system anymore. But that he's gotten really strange. He used to be really nice. Now he's just really creepy and rude. Plot twist, he was a Jedi using the Force. Well, trying to at least. Am I the jerk for not wearing contacts on a double date? I, 25 female, was recently set up on a blind date with a friend of my sister's, who's 30, boyfriend, who's also 30. She was really excited about it and refused to give me any details about him, but said I'd know him when I saw him, and I did. It turns out it's her boyfriend's friend, who was my former middle school crush. He's 27 now. We went to a small middle school, so everything was everyone's business, so he knew about it. It was sort of embarrassing, but I'm also hot now for the first time after losing a lot of weight, so I don't really care. The issue arose when my date, Eric, asked me what happened to my eye. He knew me before I started wearing contacts and encouraged me to take them out if I was uncomfortable. I have heterochromia, one blue eye, one brown. Ever since I started high school, I've been wearing brown contacts for a variety of reasons. The first is because my vision is awful. The second is for my own comfort. Most people are normal about it, but I've had some people be aggressive about proving that my eyes aren't fake. The third is because my sister didn't want me taking attention away from her during her senior year of high school, so she asked me to wear contacts. After she graduated, I stopped wearing them, but whenever I would do anything with her, since she would request that I wear contacts to cover up my condition, I do it automatically whenever I see her now, because if I don't, she'll get really withdrawn and start crying. Anyway, my sister was really happy that my date went well and suggested that we all go out together. We ended up going to a local farm/garden center. I decided not to wear my contacts because my eyes tend to get very irritated with the combination of the heat and the dust. My sister knows this, so I figured her suggesting this particular venue was her way of giving me permission to come in just glasses. When her boyfriend saw my eyes, he was fascinated. He kept asking me questions about it and making jokes. At the end of the day, he wanted to take a group photo, but had us do it inside the store so that no one would have to wear sunglasses. Afterwards, I got a text from my sister saying, "Thanks for ruining a good day." I eventually texted her back saying I didn't want to make things weird, but she could have told him about the eye thing beforehand. She never responded, but I got a phone call from my mom a few hours ago, losing it on me for ruining my sister's wedding. Apparently, the reason she was so upset was that she's secretly been engaged for the past week. Only my mom knew. They were waiting until after my mom's birthday to announce it. Sister didn't want her fiance or his family to know about my eyes until after the wedding so I would look normal in pictures and his family wouldn't harass me about it, which I sort of appreciate. I feel really bad that she's fighting with her boyfriend over me, and I'm kicking myself for not just wearing contacts. I love my sister and I don't want her to be upset. Despite her thing with my eyes, we've always been really close. Edit. I was not expecting this response. I can't possibly respond to everyone, but I'm reading every single comment and I really appreciate everyone's input. I have a lot to think about and it might take me a while to process it. I guess I'm just so used to this now that I forgot that it bothered me a lot when I was younger. Not the jerk. I can't even believe it needs to be said. Your sister and mother are awful. You didn't ruin anything, and sister needs a reality check if she thinks your eyes ruined her day or will ruin her wedding. Life is going to be really hard for her. For your information, a lot of people think heterochromia is really cool. Don't let small-minded jerks make you feel like there's anything wrong with you. Not the jerk. Your sister is weird. She's had a hang-up about you having two different colored eyes since you were kids, and somehow that affects her? Pathetic. Not the jerk, but I'm so confused as to why this is such a huge deal. My mate has a blue and brown eye, and none of us really think twice about it. Your sister, however, sounds kinda loopy. Karen wants me to give her my new house because she has kids. So me and my boyfriend recently bought a house together. We're both 25, and we were able to buy a house relatively early since houses aren't too expensive where I am. We also live with our 6-month-old Bernedoodle puppy and our 5-year-old bulldog who we rescued. We don't plan on having kids, So the primary reason for buying a house was to have room for ourselves and our dogs. I should note that my parents are supportive of my decision. My sister, who's 26, is not child-free, however. She currently has a 1-year-old daughter and recently found out that she's pregnant again. Last week, she called me to ask if she could live in our house. She offered to pay £1,200 per month in rent so that we could rent out a nice place of our own. I asked why she wanted to do this, and she explained that she wants room for her kids. Our house has 4 bedrooms, which is quite large for a house in the UK. I explained to her that as much as I would like to be able to help her, me and my boyfriend worked hard to buy a house, so we didn't want to leave and go back to renting. She immediately got really upset with me. She said that I'm selfish for buying a house when I don't want kids, when there are so many families, such as hers, who could use my house. She also critiqued me for buying a Bernedoodle puppy. Side note, we would have rescued if we could. However, none of the rescues in our area had a Bernedoodle, so we made sure to buy from a reputable breeder. After I told her that she wouldn't be getting to live in my house, she told me that me and my husband will never have a family regardless of how many mutts we fill it with. I haven't spoken to her since. Today, my father called me. I told him about how ridiculous my sister was being. However, he sided with her, although not nearly as crazily. He said that I should think about it, since I'd be doing my sister a favor. Am I the jerk for not doing this for my sister?
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.